What's up, you guys? It's Kinyo here, the Mediapreneur and poet, and you're watching P3 Power, Passion, and Purpose on Rise Above TV.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who have tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and I'm super pumped to be launching season 2 of P3. And I am honored to have one of my dear friends who is a mediapreneur extraordinaire, an author, a poet, just an all-around incredible human being. And what a better way to start season 2 than with a super sauce magoss bang of Kinyo. Kinyo, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Janie. And I'm trying to really soak in that intro because you said some super cool. I think that's probably, like, without even questioning, that's probably the best intro. I've had maybe like a couple friends give me some good intros, but that was one of the best intros. I appreciate it.
Ooh.
Having me.
Okay, well, I appreciate you saying that because I really just wanted to kind of improvise your intro. So I didn't really have anything planned. Anyway, I know when you and I get together, there's always juicy, awesome conversations that we have. I like to call them conscious combos. So I don't know where you would like to start when it comes to what power, passion, and purpose mean to you.
Man. To bridge it all together, yeah, we always do, because I think there's so much on the macro that we kind of sync up on, and part of that is I think the accuracy. The reason why I digest, even when you say them, I don't even so much think about them as compliments, but I think about it as accuracy. And even when I told you, you called me mediapreneur, I literally changed my Instagram bio to mediapreneur because I was like, yo, thank you. Like, that's one of those things I've been looking for. And I love to do that for other people too. Be like, yo, let me just name this thing for you so you can get over it and realize that's what it is and you can go for it. So I love that kind of stuff. And so that goes right into the power, the passion, and the purpose, because it's all weaved into that more and more. I think I watched back to one of the interviews I did with you, and I was like, in the beginning of it, I said, I really think I'm finished. And I realized, yeah, like on an ego level, I think that was around the time that I finished, but I didn't know how much more there was after the ego level. And it's now it's like, it is the passion to be able to do that kind of stuff like you did for me with the mediapreneur, for people being able to like go into a place and be like, hey, this isn't complicated, let me hook this up. I know this might be your area of expertise, but your closet is super messy, and my expertise is handling this closet really fast. And being able to move through that at speed is making me feel more powerful than ever. Tapping into that passion, and I'm doing a lot of work tapping into my passion, which is a lot of like getting back to my childhood stuff. I'm like, remember who you are, my friend. You know, hilarious. Like you love running, like you love investigating. I watched the Harriet and the spy movie, and I wanted to be a spy, and I collected bugs, and that's it was giving me hints about my brain and my own analytical stuff at this point. And I'm just so it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
I love that you mentioned, returning and remembering the essence of yourself as a child. Like, what were the natural things that you gravitated towards, or that you were like really good at or really fascinated by? This idea of our power comes from that which was oozing out of us naturally as a child. And funny enough, it's going back to igniting our imagination. And you have an incredible imagination. What are some of the things that you feel are tools or virtues or principles that you abide by and do your best to embody and live by that help you feel your empowered self?
It's super cool that you get there. I'm gonna go fast now, because um, one thing that I'm thinking about is the connection to the childhood again. I think that is super important, and I look at that as a source of mining to try to get back to it. And then but what's the point of that? You know, being able to connect. So I think power is for the purpose of and really represented in, you know, your ability to connect with people. And so right now, a lot of what my main focus is the connection, but I don't want to. I'm not attempting to sacrifice my ideals because, you know, when I was a kid, you know, I was a very lonely explorer. I don't know if lonely was. I explored alone. I think that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
And you know, I enjoyed that. So it wasn't always being around people. And I found a lot of balance in that. And then so, but where I really connected that is to me processing out my stuff so I can get back to some other interesting stuff. Like if you look behind me right now, this is just like a little mini DIY shelf that I made for myself. But I have these like bright colored paints on it, you know, and I've really been thinking about the bright colored paints because I'm like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I can say. And with poems, it's interesting that you say that about imagination, that I have a great imagination. With poems, it's the same thing. I try to use these bright colors, not because I'm not aware of, I got a black up here too, not because I'm not aware of the black. And if you look at some of my other art, it's not that I don't go into the black, but I made a promise with my poetry to myself that I would never end in a bad note. And so one of my contributions to society as a high level poet and as a high level artist in those two categories is to contribute positive imagination. That's one of the most difficult things for people to attain. In a crazy way, it's the reason why a lot of time machine related content, and you know, I do a lot of time machine themology in my product development and stuff like that. But a lot of time machine related themology is negative. A lot of sci-fi is negative. Why? Because imagination isn't hard. We all have it. What's difficult is to imagine versions of the future that are positive, because that takes love, that takes science, and they just want to come at it with art. Art is great, but it very easily becomes black magic if you don't force yourself to go that extra step.
Ooh, just like with all things, there's duality and polarity. And you're saying when we use our imagination and think of the future, it's dismal, it's gloom and doom, it's this apocalyptic, it's like, you know what I mean? And you're like, whoa, 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 wait a second, y'all. What if all of us, or a lot of us, started to use the power of our imagination and the beautiful gift of our mind to start to paint a different picture and create different stories? You're talking about accountability and responsibility.
I think one of the greatest powers of positivity, and I'm literally, anytime I have these kinds of conversations, I'm making everything up at the moment. So if I say any like thing that's like slightly inaccurate, I'm not holding myself accountable. The whole point is just like, I love this because we're going back and forth and we're creating new ideas. But one of the most important powers of positivity is acceptance. And I think the extra step is completion. Because if you want to go ahead and tell a story where this and this happens, okay, that's fine, but complete it. What we take for granted is everything around us, but someone built it while it was raining, you know, and you have to go that extra step of completion. That's why these things get to stand around us. And so if you want to be futuristic, and this is just even just on a presentness of branding, if you want to be present, if you want to connect, you have to go that extra step. But in connecting to customers, which is, you know, especially a huge focus in the pandemic, you know, it's like, how do you connect to people inside of their houses? It's not about the externalities. It's about me being present and taking advantage of the knowledge that's within me. If I can write a story where I did X, Y, and Z, why would I be afraid to? I think, and that takes work. I think that takes work.
You're able to see things from a lot of different perspectives.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is the case for you?
Mhm. Yo, that is so cool. I think it's because I came up with this idea for sure, and then I went away from it because I wasn't sure if it was a message of unity. But you saying that kind of brings back to me why it's a relative truth and not an ethnic truth. And the idea was that I was thinking I was a zebra raised amongst horses, and
Ooh,
really
say that again.
I'm a zebra raised amongst horses.
Nice.
And where that really goes for me presently, and what I think about that as a metaphor, is because there's always been, I didn't, I didn't really always recognize the displacement. So I never calculated it as displacement. I just calculated it as almost like a universal. I was like, oh, this is a universal value. Everybody's completely different. I never thought there was a sameness that people were really going for or anything like that. I just thought. So I don't know. And then when I think about the wholeness of my life, and I was talking to someone about this, and I think it ends up where I am right now, which is I'm so happy with that I don't even care about the idea of zebras or horses. I'm just a me. And where that comes from, I think, is, so being Nigerian, right? First off, I'm in America, boom, right? And then I think, being in the Bay Area, being in Oakland, there's already a culture there, which I think only exists there. And I don't know, that was interesting. And then coming down to LA, I'm just saying, I think the course of my life provided me with a lot of unique angles. From Oakland to LA, from LA to San Antonio, and the traveling I did in between, and then always being different no matter what. And I think the completeness of that has really been like, okay, cool. Difference actually isn't even a thing. It's one of the fuels. It's one of the why do you think they call up and coming businesses disruptors? Why does it who is disrupted, and why would you want to not be disrupted? To me, it sounds like this person's generating energy, which is feeding the entire system. And I think this difference, embracing difference, that's why a lot of the conversations, even like I said, I don't think about it as in an ethnic way. I think a lot of those conversations are so interesting to me because I'm like, yes, three-dimensionally, there's stuff to talk about with race. But do you realize that we're made up of at least 7 plus dimensions of things that are all like consciousness and principalities and powers? Like the amounts of differences. It would be like worrying about if you're in the same. I can't even. I was gonna try to get a really good metaphor to really.
Yeah. I don't know if this one would work. I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but
Yeah.
worrying that there's salt in the ocean.
Right. That kind of makes sense. It's just like, yeah, like you're worried about the wrong scale of things.
Yeah, it's like you're putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. That
Right.
Austin Powers said that in one of his movies, We
I
need
feel
to
like
shift our focus and our attention.
yeah.
And I think tying back the word acceptance,
Right.
that you have dismantled and disrupted the illusion of separation. And you really see sort of the oneness of all things. And I think that's really beautiful, accepting differences in such a way that actually brings you a level of awe and beauty. Like there's this beauty unity within diversity. That's the way I look at it. So community, passion, purpose, power. How does that word tie the P3 of what Kinyo is about and what Kinyo's doing? And if there's anything else, obviously you want to throw in about the power thing, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You are, everyone should get one of these interviews with, because a lot of what I do, I realize in conversation is just like make stuff up. And it's not making stuff up, but it's the latest iteration. It's a new iteration because I get to share a laboratory with someone, and so it's like I'm looking at their data and they're bringing stuff up. And so, and yeah, that accuracy with you, I'm like, I'm gonna go back and watch my last interview with you because I need to see what you were saying then, because I'm sure you were pointing out some stuff about what I was saying. Because I feel like I'm making clouds and you're condensing it into rain, and it's very cool. So, and so we talked about power. I want to break them down because I feel like there was something really cool in there. There was the power, the passion, and the purpose. I think the purpose is a little bit. So the power is connection to me. The passion for me is my kid-like awe. You know, that's it. I'm a freaking human. Kid-like awe on passion. Like I'm passionate. Like I collected Snapple bottles once as a kid. Like when I'm telling you, like we are so blessed to be the curious human being. So my childlike awe is my passion, and my purpose now is I think where I'm getting really interested in, right? Because there's so much to go on, and when I think about purpose of any of this stuff, and that brings love back into it, and I think about the purpose of my perspectives and everything was always to take the hardest road and to realize why it was actually and to really figure out, I think, not to be complacent with what was going on and maybe to try to help out what's going on where people are creating pain where there doesn't need to be pain through like just weirdness or and to figure it out for myself too. And then also I think I was just having fun. And so, and I'm just saying a bunch of random stuff because I think it all gets into the purpose. And where I want to go is that for the rest of my life, which is creating products um, and selling them. You know what I mean? I think that that's my new realization on that when it comes to purpose, because all that is completing somebody else's version of the future. You know, if you make the purchase, whether it's the iPhone or, I get, whatever it is that I like to work on my website and the products I sell, my books, it's that moment of you getting to your future. And that level of completion is the best poem and the best painting combined. And so that's basically my purpose now. So connection, childlike um, products and houses.
Yeah, it's like sharing, really sharing your gift, like tapping into your gifts, which is a combination of your power, passion, purpose, like and your own creative self-expression
Yeah.
and blending it all together and then finding a way to share with others.
And yeah, and it's really business, and I like it. It's not so much business specifically, but it's the goals that I want to build my businesses for. So I have several different businesses, and I'd love to get more into aerospace. It's just true, and I love that you called me a mediapreneur because I'm going to use that to focus because I forget so often how I built this, and that. I did it all, thanks to the fact that, and this goes back to the childlike thing, and I was thinking about this because I was going back a little while ago. When I was 10, my mom said she had the certificate. I actually talked to her about it. She said she has the certificate. I went to this was like a disadvantaged neighborhood thing. I wasn't even in that neighborhood, but like I went to the church or something like that. But they taught kids HTML and graphic design when I was 10, and that empowered me so much. Okay, so if I can sum up the purpose, my purpose now is the empowerment of other people, because what that did for me, that's when I became a mediapreneur. What does that mean, mediapreneur? Media became my leverage tool. Everyone has a leverage tool. Media became my leverage tool to be myself. Like, oh, you're gonna try to make me do this and this. I'm going to make some videos, throw those out there so that I can get an anchor on and get back to where I want, because I don't want to go over there. And so having that tool my entire life empowered me, and I want to get that into other people. And sometimes it's as simple as being able to use your Google Calendar a little bit better. Sometimes it's as simple as finding the right price website. Sometimes it's as simple as getting setting up an Instagram account. Sometimes it's as simple, sometimes it's more complicated. And it's like creating like a mailing list sub list for something else. But whatever it is, or sometimes it's extreme, like getting a new phone. It's not that extreme, but there's these different things that we think about futurism, and we're just not there yet. Looking at the stuff on the Capitol building, one of the biggest things I was thinking about was like the technology there was pretty lame. That's the best we're doing. Like, come on, we're watching Star Trek. I want to see tech everywhere. I want everything to be upgraded.
I agree with you 100%. And nowadays, technology is a huge part of our world. What we need to make sure is that we use it wisely and mindfully and maturely and in a way that's going to help us evolve and ascend and grow and learn from history. This is airing several weeks after that incident, so who knows what's going to happen between now and the time that this occurs. But our mental health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health is, there's like a crisis that's going on, and it's causing us to be very sick in a lot of different ways. And this sickness is causing us to stay stuck in a state of pain and suffering that really is rooted in this division and this divisiveness and we all just need to take a deep breath,
And
man.
most people, and that's why I want to do the upgrades too, because most people, what makes I think mankind complacent too is when we slow down too much. What happens when we slow down, we start, self-consuming, and we just get weird and lame. When there's so many beautiful things that we could be doing, like, come on, there's so many things, and it takes work. Like, other than like, there is the self work, and I love that you said that because like I feel like that is been a huge priority. Maybe not even intentionally, but it's been a huge priority in my life. And but also the work, it takes a little bit more work. The thing is, when you're doing things that you're passionate about, you can do the requisite amount of work. If you look at things from an Adam and Eve type thing, human beings being first to have to work the land, passion was the antidote to that. Yes, unfortunately, you still have to work your butt off to get your piece of the pie. But if you
Yes.
find your passion, then at least you're working. You can put in the for an entrepreneur. You can put in the 11-hour 6-day weeks.
Because
That's not even a lot. I cut it down to 11 hours, but
yeah, and that's because the energy that you're getting from the passion, it's like this synergistic sort of loop of like fuel for
yeah,
self because it's play. And going back, tying it back to the kid thing, earlier I had mentioned the word acceptance and how that personal growth work that we do on ourselves. Some people think if you're working on yourself, then you're not accepting of self. And that's the other thing. This is the paradoxical aspect of this whole journey that we're all on as we start to become more united in love and with one another in a state of cooperation and collaboration. And that's going to cause, that means us really understanding what does peace actually mean? And accepting that there are some things that we may need to tweak. So we're accepting of self while we're becoming the more optimal versions of ourselves and always staying childlike and curious in that there's always room to grow. That does not mean that you're bad and you're not good enough and you've got so much work to do to be able to feel worthy and whole. And that's just not what it is. It's like you can feel whole and still stay open to looking at self in a way that would allow you to heal some imbalances or some beliefs and ideologies and narratives that are keeping you limited and small. Now's the time for us to really step into our allness, humbly step into our allness. What are your go-to self-care practices? A lot of what you just gave earlier was so awesome. Just those little baby things that you could do for yourself that really make a difference. What would you say are one or two things that are your self-care, self-love practices?
one, I stay tied to my aesthetics. I like cool stuff, and you have to know what you think is cool. Like if you think cheesecakes are cool, if you think sushi's cool, you think going out to like a thing is cool. It's actually not that expensive. It's way more expensive to lose your grip on because it's actually not a big deal what you want. It's just it's like what is it, $10, $15, But when you constantly deny yourself your most basic aesthetics, you lose direction in a real way. I think I'm gonna be consuming more of your content, Janie. I see your podcasts and they pop up and I listen to them periodically, and I'm gonna listen to them more because I think, you know, one thing I love about what you're saying, and I think what I'm learning about you too, as I accept myself more, but you are really good at the acceptance, like the themologies, you know, because we need these mindset things. I think one thing people don't think about is how the human mind, like we really only exist within like a week at most, you know, and we forget a lot of stuff. So if we don't have a constant food source for certain things when it comes to mental stuff, it's actually just not there anymore. And you think it's there and you're like, oh no, where is it? But it's not. And I think so for as far as my nutrients, my Nutri-Grain bars of acceptance and accuracy, I'm gonna be getting some of that from the Janie Terrazas mindfulness podcast because I know there's some good stuff in there. But yeah, it's just being rigorous about that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm good at self-care. I've found methods of sustainability, and I think this is a sort of maybe I don't want to maybe a stereotypical male kind of thing, to where if you find a strong joint, you might overstress it as a utility. And while that is sustainable, and I do think I really am good at sustainability, I'm realizing if I really want to get there on a macro, I have to. That's why I'm trying to look at myself as more of a human now. I'm like, you're a freaking human. And when you're young, you don't really understand that. You really don't understand it. Like you have so many years to like there's so many things that go into, you know, like what is a sustainable ideology for 5 years might not stretch to 15 or 20 or 25. So
Yeah.
actually,
You're now in the space of more longevity because you're understanding that the leveling up that you're going to do in the coming years is so macro, so international level that you would have to increase your self-care practices in order to maintain that level of energy to do what is being called of you to do. And the good news is you already know this, not that you don't already know this, but you have everything it takes to achieve such a feat that has been bestowed upon you.
exactly. I actually feel like it's my main big next quest. I think that like the figuring out how to work at full speed was my last quest. And now it's like, you thought that was hard? The new quest just started and the mountains are even higher and they're crazier. And you are in the whole quest right now. I feel like the whole quest is like getting me to vacation almost. Like it's like you're gonna need levels of self-care that you have never even conceived of, and you're gonna resist it so hard because at this point, because I unlocked the passion, it's gonna be hard for me not to go to sleep with the laptop every single night. And that's super unsustainable, but it's going to be super hard to not
It's
be thinking and processing the next possibility and move.
Yes. Are there any last words that you would like to share with those that are watching before we wrap up this awesome episode? And also, I would love for people to know how they can reach out and connect with you.
Okay. Yes. Come find me, www.kinyo.org. So that's my hub for everything, literally everything that I do. And make sure you give me some feedback so that I can design a better system that's more fun. Because when people like give me comments in different ways, it shows me what's going on. So do that. Find something to comment on, a video, an article, or something. If I'm gonna leave you with one thing, I was thinking about it. I was like, one thing that I'm trying to focus on right now, and so I wanted to give you something that I think might be good for you, or I'm trying to find something good for myself. So is one, journaling. If you're not journaling, start writing stuff down. Your journals will accumulate. If you're, a lot of people they think about writer's block, you know, but I'm like, it's not writer's block. That's you trying to be a freaking magician. You're not gonna just come up with stuff out of nowhere. Just write stuff in a journal. You know, random ideas. Every idea you have, write it down. And then also though, read it. I'm trying to make time to read, and I think we should all make more time to read.
I love it. Well, speaking of reading, Kinyo has beautiful poetry books available. I know earlier he was talking about, creating more product and things like that, but he already has done so much of that, and that is food for my soul. I'm connected with him on his pages, and I love reading his little excerpts from his poetry books and things like this, and I'm just like, I'm a huge fan of his, and I have been and I always will be. So if you haven't already connected with Kinyo, make sure you do so. Thank you so much, Kinyo, again, for being a part of this project of mine. I'm looking forward to doing more work together.
Yes, I like that.
And thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. Your likes, shares, and follows are greatly appreciated because they help spread the love. Subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channel. Tune in next week for another power-packed episode of Power, Passion, and Purpose. You won't want to miss it. Till next time, peace be in us.